We are at this point exploring the American Midwest. Remember this bunch of states? Big one called Midwest. You already know about the states of Michigan, Ohio, and Indiana. And you know about the Great Lakes and the snow they add to the snow belt. The next state will be Illinois, this one. It touches on one of the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan, in the top left corner, which is, here you go, it's closer, you can see it now, which is northeast on the map. Do you still remember the map? The north is always on top, the south is on the bottom, the west is to the left, and the east is to the right. So when something is in the corner, it's both in the north and in the east, and we call it northeast. So Lake Michigan is in the northeast of the state. As you can see over here in red, the state's nickname is the Prairie State. Right there. We talked a lot about the long mountain range that crosses a number of states in the east. Remember Appalachian Mountains? We have even bigger, taller mountains in the west. But the middle of the country is very flat. We call it the Great Plains. So right in the middle, you can see areas colored in yellow, orange, and green, and that's our prairies or the Great Plains. Plains are flat places in geography. Much of this territory is covered by the prairie. In the prairies, the summers are hot and the winters can be bitterly cold. Of course, it depends how far to the north you are in the prairies. Like in the very north, the winters will have a lot of snow and bitter cold. And if you are all the way to the south in Texas, like almost where Benjamin lives, the winters won't be as cold, of course. It is a windy place too. You will find a sea of grass and not very many trees. And because there are not trees or mountains to stop the wind, you can it gets very windy and you often have tornadoes. If there are any trees that grow on the prairies, they would tend to grow where water is, that is around and along the rivers. Herds of buffalo used to roam in the prairies. But the times, here we go, that's the prairies. And the buffalo. But the times of the buffalo are past. Flat, fertile land is excellent for farming. And so, where wild prairies used to be, there are hundreds and thousands of farms now. Illinois is all about farming. Farmers raise corn, soybeans, pumpkins, and pigs. And of course, much, much more than that. The western border of Illinois is wavy. Do you see that? When you see a very wavy border, it normally means that it's a river. So the western border of Illinois is formed by the mighty Mississippi River. At the very bottom of the state, two big rivers meet right here. The Mississippi River and the Ohio River. And that's where you can find Shawnee National Forest. But what is that? Have you ever seen something like that? Can you guess what it is? What is it? What does it do? If you forgot the name, what does it do? What do you think?
Он контейнеры какие-то везет.
Yes, it's a barge. Illinois ships its farm products to other places by truck and by train. But some of the grain farmers raise here travels down the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico and from there to other countries on huge flat-bottomed boats called barges. And that's what you see right there. If you lived on the Mississippi, you would see lots of barges going by. And this is the park I just mentioned on the very bottom of the map, Shawnee National Forest. It's absolutely beautiful with deep canyons, bubbling springs, and surprising rock formations like this camel. Do you see a camel on this photograph? Look carefully. Do you see a camel? It's right here. Does it look like a camel to you? Yep.
I see camel like that part is a head and that that part where person in a red coat stands.
Yes.
That's the camel.
Well, when you look long enough, you will find other formations that look like something else. Fedя, do you see something?
Как будто маленький ребенок хотел сердечко нарисовать.
Yeah, it could look like a lopsided little heart. That's true. North of Shawnee National Forest is Cahokia Mounds. Thousands of native people once lived on these lands. Historians believe that around the year 1100, Cahokia was one of the largest cities in the world. It was back then when there were not very many large cities. The native people who lived here built huge mounds. So this is a mound, like a man-made mountain or hill. These mounds were part of their city. Imagine how hard it must have been to create these massive mounds of earth without any bulldozers or tractors or any equipment at all. The small town of... Oh, Fedya, you raised your hand. Did you want to ask?
А можно на обратную картинку?
This one?
Да, мне кажется, даже из скринки хватит, чтобы весь город загорелся.
Well, if you're talking about these huts, yes, they have roofs that are covered with grasses. So those would be easy to set on fire, but not the mound. The mound is just a lot of earth and it's just overgrown with grass. This part will not burn, but the huts, yes, the huts will.
Если они мокрые, то они не загорятся.
Well, that's true. If they're wet, it will take a while to catch fire. There may be a little special about the small town of Olney, if not for the squirrels. Well, what's so special about squirrels? It's famous for its white albino squirrels. Residents discovered these chattering creatures around 1900. That is almost, almost 100 years ago or over 100 years ago. The people of Olney have loved their special squirrels ever since. Local laws and squirrel crossing signs help to protect these little critters. So be careful. If you want to see these unusual squirrels, be careful when you drive around Olney, because if you hit and kill one of the squirrels, guess how much you're going to pay?
$1,000,000.
$750. Not $1 million, but $750 is a lot. Volodya? Volodya. Yeah, you can say.
There is a similar creature to these albino squirrels.
Have you seen a similar?
Albino alligator.
Albino alligator. Well, alligators.
And white too.
Yes, alligators and squirrels surely are not similar, but you are right that there are other albino animals and even albino people, and they are similar in in its own way. I mean, in their own way, because they're all albino. Fedya, do you still want to say something, or you forgot to take your hand down?
Я руку просто. Нет. Я хотел сказать, есть
Alright.
есть такой жираф редкий, он белый, он редкий очень.
Right, that's right. Benya?
That person and that tiger, they're not albinos.
Well, albino people and albino animals sometimes lose all of their pigment. Even the eyes are red, like in this hedgehog. And some still keep some of the pigment, some of the color. I was a bit surprised when I was looking up these pictures, as I expected all albino people to have red eyes. But I found many photographs where the eyes are not red. So I guess there is a range of how much pigment you can keep. I've seen a picture of 4 lions in a row, the normal line, the normally colored line, and then the one that is like this, and the last one that is totally white. So I think it's a range. Володя?
Ну, если такой жираф редкий, то я знаю еще одно редкое животное.
Okay.
Это такой слон. Он полосатый и очень редкий.
Really? I haven't seen a striped elephant. I have to look that up. That would be interesting. Федя?
Зато есть такой, как его, он как краб, но это, я забыл, как лобстер, но он синий, из самых редких.
Okay, well, we won't go into rare animals at this point because it is so interesting. There are so many of them. It will take us a day to discuss them. But what we have in Olney, we have albino squirrels, and that's pretty special, I think. The state of Illinois is not just farms. The state of Illinois has also one of the biggest cities in the United States. Do you know what it is, Benya?
There are just 2 females left from white rhino.
Okay, white rhino, right? White rhino is extremely rare. So our farming state of Illinois has the 3rd largest city in the country as well. Do you know the name of the city? Nope. All right, you get a hint. It's Chicago. Yes, the 3rd largest city in the country. Chicago sits on the shores of Lake Michigan. Remember that corner on the map? That's where Chicago is. Владимир? Володя?
Я про такой город когда-то слышал, но не помню когда. Папа оттуда кофе покупал.
Oh, okay, I see that.
Зерна.
Well, you will hear about Chicago a lot because it is a very big, busy city. Chicago Chicago has a number of nicknames, but most famous one is the Windy City. It is not the windiest city in the United States, though. Some people guess that the Windy City, the name the Windy City, comes from the wind that blows from the Lake Michigan. Others say it's because of the buildings in the city that are built in a way to channel the air and create wind and create drafts. So it's kind of breezy in the city. And there are other guesses. So I don't know for sure, and other people don't know for sure why it got its nickname, but it really stuck. So if you hear of the Windy City, that's Chicago. Dania? You had your hand raised.
I was there.
What's that?
I was in Chicago.
Oh, okay. You visited Chicago. Did you like Chicago?
Yes. But I remember just how I touched a rare fish.
A rare fish? What kind of fish is that?
Forgot its name, but it gives black eggs that people like to eat.
Okay. The black caviar? Okay, I see. Well, that must be very special. Like I said, it's not the windiest city in the world or in the United states. The windier cities are in Kansas, Dodge City, and also Amarillo, Texas is pretty windy, and a few other places in Texas. This, what do you think this is? Have you seen this thing, Pena?
Oh, yes, I saw.
Did you take pictures of it?
I think so.
Probably not. Do you know what it's called?
I think
it's called the Cloud Gate sculpture. It offers a fun view of the skyline. Look how the city is reflected like in a mirror, except it's curved. But it also looks like a bean, so the people call it the bean as well.
Он больше на ртуть похоже.
На ртуть, yes, it has that mercury look to it as well. Well, the capital of the state is not Chicago, though. As you might think, the biggest city would be the capital, but just like in New York City, in New York State, New York City is not the capital, but a small city of Albany is. So in Illinois, Chicago is the biggest, but Springfield is the capital. Volodya?
Yes. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, you just want to say that. So
yeah, because I saw the story.
That's right. If you live in a different state and you also have Springfield in your state, no wonder. Fun fact, there are currently 67 places named Springfield in the United States. 67 villages and towns and cities that are called Springfield. Like all these states have a Springfield or two. We have Springfield, Massachusetts, a city where we go to sometimes. Illinois is the land of Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln spent much of his life in the state before he became president. He moved to Springfield in 1837 when he was 28 years old. Springfield is full of Lincoln sites and statues. You can see the pew in the church, like here, the bench, in the church building where Abraham Lincoln and his family sat together to worship God. You can visit his home and his lawyer's office. Володя?
Ну, я бы хотел сказать, что я знаю такого президента.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Федя, do you know President Lincoln?
Он в монетках делают.
That's true. You can see his picture on the coin. Fedya, did you want to say something? Do you know about President Lincoln?
Yeah.
Ever heard of him? Not yet?
Mm-mm.
You certainly will, because it's one of the two most famous American presidents. And the state of Illinois is all about President Lincoln because he lived there. You will find different statues and museums. Every year, thousands of people rub the nose on the statue of Abraham Lincoln's head at his tomb in Springfield. Do you see how shiny his nose is? People do it for good luck. I always found that funny, but people have rituals like that. For example, dropping coins into a fountain. Have you seen fountains with lots of coins on the bottom?
Yes, and those coins are
Как можно еще загадать желание?
Yes, it's like a wishing well, or you can wish to come back to this place, all those sorts of things. So people rub the president's nose for good luck. I don't know if they get any good luck with it, but the president's nose gets a lot of shine for all that rubbing. Before anyone thought of building a skyscraper in Chicago or a mining truck, oh, I forgot to tell you about mining trucks. Oh, anyway, we'll go back to it. Before anyone was mining anything or building anything, Prairie chickens, like this beautiful prairie chicken, pecked and scratched in the dirt. Foxes, coyotes, and deer bounded across the vast open land. Illinois does not have as much prairie land as it once did, but it is still the prairie state. What I forgot to tell you is that Illinois is home to the Caterpillar Visitor Center. The caterpillar, or cat for short, makes equipment for big jobs. Now, give me a second. I'll fix my mistake and show you what I mean. That's just a second. See this big machine? So huge machines like that are built in Illinois. People on Caterpillar equipment have built dams in the United States, made roads in India, explored Antarctica, and dug an underwater tunnel that connects England and France. This company operates factories all over the world. Caterpillar makes their 797 mining trucks at a factory in Illinois. These trucks haul sand, copper, coal, and iron ore at mines around the globe, not just in our country. The 797 is huge. Its tires are 14 feet tall. Now let's find that thing, since I failed to add it to my slides. And let's have a look at how huge it is. Look at that. Look at the car, how tiny it is. You've known that, Володя?
Я еще больше знаю.
Вот что я хочу сказать. Такой грузовик у меня был из Лего, но там к нему плохая инструкция, и мы его разобрали.
Oh, that's too bad.
У меня где-то такой лежал туда в 4 года.
Там с ним еще есть видеоинструкция для самолета.
Okay, I hope you have better luck with the airplanes. That would be fun to build an equipment like that. I can't believe it. Look at the car. Look at how tiny it is next to this truck. Well, because these machines are built for big jobs, like digging an underground tunnel between England and France, building a dam on the river. You need something big and strong. So the state of Illinois is all about farming and beautiful nature, and it also has the third biggest city in the United States, Chicago. It sits on one of the Great Lakes, at least it touches one of the Great Lakes, and ships its products down the Mississippi River to send it around the globe. It also has white squirrels. Well, today we have... All right, today we have some more time to start on another state, one of the Midwestern states. Now, give me a second, and here we go. The Illinois' neighbor to the north is Wisconsin, right here, where the arrow points. It borders two of the Great Lakes, Lake Michigan and Lake Superior. Lake Superior and Lake Michigan. Do you like skating on the lake? Would you try? I'm sorry, say it again.
Never tried.
You never tried, but would you want to try skating on the lake?
Yes.
Yeah, how about you, Володя?
Ну, я никогда не катался, но хочу попробовать.
All right. Федя?
Я первый раз уже начинаю.
А чё?
Зиму придется. Только у меня коньков нету.
I see
Мне
that.
придется купить коньки с двойными лыжами, потому
Ага.
что я нехорошо.
To make them all more stable.
Еще.
Right, right.
Вот я про этот класс говорил.
Yes, I remember that. Well, would you be afraid to fall through the ice into the water in the winter? Yeah. So it would be
Я
fun
бы
to
не
try.
боялся.
You wouldn't? Why? Do you think
Потому
that?
что я хорошо умею плавать.
I see, but it's in the winter. It's very cold.
А я зато зимой на пляже купаюсь, блин.
But you live in Florida, right? So it's not very cold and doesn't freeze over with ice. But when the water is so cold that it freezes over and you fall through, it's going to be cold. Федя?
Я там еще в 2 красных флага купался. Там
Okay.
течение налево еще волны добивали.
I
А мой этот двоюродный брат нашел очень редкую ракушку.
Well, you have lots of experiences in Florida. I can see that. Well, if you were to skate in Wisconsin, you needn't be worried about falling through, especially on Lake Winnebago, that lake. Why? Because when the lake freezes over, the ice can be up to 30 inches thick. It's about this much. When the ice is so thick, you can drive across the lake on your car. It is that strong. So it's going to hold you up and you can skate as much as you want. Yes, Volodya. Volodya, you can say it.
Is it gonna balance a giant cargo train?
A cargo train. I don't know. I don't think anyone tried, but I think there are people who can estimate how much weight the ice can hold. I don't know. I think it can hold up a big truck, but I'm not sure about cargo train. You probably know something about Jesus Christ and his 12 closest followers. Do you know the words for the word for these followers? How are they called? No, they can be called disciples, but they are also called apostles. But what does that have to do with Wisconsin? Well, because Wisconsin has the Apostle Islands on the northern coast. Well, I thought the name comes from the number of these islands. I thought there would be 12 islands, just as there are 12 apostles.
18.
What's that?
18.
There is much more than that. Well, I've read in a book that there's 21 islands, and then on Wikipedia it says 22 islands. Probably not every island is counted, but it is almost twice as many as the apostles. So the name doesn't come from the number. The name probably came from the 17th century missionaries who wanted to honor the apostles by naming this beautiful place after them. And the place is truly beautiful. It has underwater caves, and it has arches created by pounding waves and the water. The caves are spectacular, and they run deep into the cliffs. In the winter, ice formations cover the cliffs. People have drawn imaginary, Volodya, you want to say something? Yes, go ahead.
Я бы что-то,
Yes?
Вернитесь, пожалуйста, на предыдущую картинку.
Okay. This one or the one before it?
Вот это.
This one? Okay.
Нет.
This one?
Вперед. Вот эту.
Mm-hmm.
Ой, поменялась опять.
Oh my goodness. Let me see. So, number...
Вот на вот этой картинке я там заметил маяк. У меня из лего есть. Я могу вам показать картинку в конце урока.
Okay, well, let's have a look at it. People have drawn imaginary lines. Fedya, do you want to say something? Fedya?
О, я на мюзе был. Можно обратно ту картинку тоже?
Yeah, let's go back.
Нет.
This one?
Это похоже на немецкий бункер.
All right.
Ну, вот как окошко здесь.
Okay, all right. People have drawn imaginary lines across the globe to help us locate places. These lines give us something like an address. The parallel lines are called lines of latitude. Like, let me see. So the lines that do not cross, that go like this, they're called parallel lines. They never cross. So these lines are parallel lines. And as you can see, the middle line, called the equator, is the longest. And every line that goes towards the top or towards the bottom is shorter and shorter and shorter. If you are standing on the equator, you are halfway between the very top of the Earth, the North Pole, and the very bottom, the South Pole. Then there are meridians on this picture. Meridians are lines that go up and down as if you're slicing an orange. Meridians are all the same. There is no longest meridian. They're all the same. But people picked one that went through England and called it zero or prime meridian. As you can see, this dotted line is prime meridian. That's meridian 0. And the next one is number 1 and number 2 and so forth. The equator, this longest line of latitude, splits the Earth into two halves, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. Since our planet is a sphere, that is a ball, half of it is called a hemisphere, like half sphere, half ball. We live in the northern hemisphere, the top one. Why am I telling you this? Well, many people like numbers, and they find it very special to be in the very middle of something, like my city is in the very middle of Europe, and my country is in the very, not country, let's say my village is in the very middle of Asia, or something like that. Or they like being number 0. Like, isn't that special? That's got to be special. It's like the very first line. Or wouldn't it be fun to put one foot on the northern hemisphere and another foot on the southern hemisphere, and then to be in two hemispheres at once? So if somebody calls you and asks you, where are you? And I'm in the northern hemisphere and the south hemisphere at once. Wouldn't that be fun?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you know what I mean. People like things and places like that. Meridian number 0 is called prime meridian, and it also splits the Earth into two halves. This time, left and right, which is called western and eastern hemisphere. So we have top and bottom, and then left and right. Again, wouldn't it be interesting to be in both hemispheres at once? You could do that if you stand right.
I know something way more interesting than that.
All right, but Fedya raised his hand first, so I let him talk first.
Я, забыл.
Okay, well, think about it a little more. Volodya?
Ну.
Something way more interesting. Remember?
What's something way more interesting is you put one foot on the western, the other on the eastern, your hand on the southern, and your other hand on the northern. That's way more interesting.
I was just about to say it. You are 1 second ahead of me. I was just about to say it would be interesting to have one foot on the western hemisphere and one on the eastern, or on the southern and northern, but it would be even more fun to stand where they all meet to be in the western and eastern and northern and southern all at once. Guess what? Unfortunately, this place is in the ocean.
Я вспомню, что я хотел сказать.
Yeah, give me a second to finish, all right? But fortunately, it is on an island, so you can stand on it. It's called Null Island. Null means 0 because it's an address on the map, the address of the island, and it is 0 degrees latitude and 0 degrees longitude. See these two zeros? That's the address of the island on the map, and that's pretty special. Федя?
Я знаю, мои любимые цифры моего года день рождения. Ну, не то есть тогда я родился, а сколько мне лет. То есть раньше у меня 8,5 любил, а сейчас 9,5.
Oh, I see. So you like numbers as well. Some people like numbers when, say, the day and the month and the year line up and you get 12, 12, 12, or 12, 13, 14. Well, you can have 13, I suppose, like 10, 11, 12, something like that. So playing with numbers is something that many people like to do. Well, what does that have to do with the state of Wisconsin? It doesn't, Wisconsin also has a cool spot like that in a tiny community in the very heart of the state. A drive through the local farm fields will bring you to a geographical marker, this one, that says, in short, this is the exact center of the Western Hemisphere. Well, maybe it's not as cool as that Null Island where you are in both, in all hemispheres at once, but it's the exact center of the Western Hemisphere. This is the middle of the western half of the world. To learn about Wisconsin's capital, its football team, and especially about delicious things you can taste, you have to come next week. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.